Let's get the show on the road.
Hello, I'm Rex the Boot Atkins, and this is Good Brother Morning, except I messed up. And today I said we'd be doing a Good Brother Morning episode for the Patreon subscribers. However, I didn't clear that with my co-host. So starting next week, we will be doing official Good Brother Morning on Fridays just for Patreon listeners. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to attach the video version of Whatcha Talkin Boot, the episode I did with Trevor Wilson, BMD, and my cousin Mike. So yeah, I hope you all enjoy that. Thanks.
You know, you've seen the business. It's going to shit.
What the fuck's happened? Who's pissed on the couch?
But if you piss on me, you're gonna have to whoop my ass.
Let me be clear. We're not raping anyone.
So I can jerk myself off. Yeah, we're probably going to do that after the podcast for sure.
Are you worried that your kids are ever going to listen to this podcast?
They got to give all their shit in. Sure, Hurricane Corona, sure legit.
We know you love us.
Get another booking.
Okay, shut the fuck up.
So what is the theme of your podcast?
Zero theme.
When I power driving, my farted in his face.
Dude, that was sick.
It's Whatcha Talkin Boot, hosted by Canadian pro wrestler Rex the Boot Atkins.
Okay, so we're here with Trevor. One thing that I didn't realize about you was that you're not a small town guy. I think I bought into the gimmick.
It's amazing the power of suggestion and how much people sort of buy into what Letterkenny is. Because I am born and raised Toronto, Ontario, grew up in the city. I went to a performance arts high school. Closest I ever came to working with my hands. I spent a lot of years in a butcher shop and a lot of years in a kitchen. And that's about as blue collar as I've gotten in my life. And I am full on city boy art school grad.
Yeah, it totally worked me. Like when I first found you, it was definitely like I seen you do stand up first, and then I seen you on Letterkenny. I was like, oh, that's that dude I seen at the place in St. Catharines. I forget what they call the comedy club there, but even on your like throughout your set there, I thought for sure like, oh yeah, this is like some small town Ontario kid. Just your look, the beard, the everything. It just seems very small town, blue collar guy. But
yeah, I always tried to foster the image on stage of someone's drinking buddy. Like I wanted people to feel very at ease. I've had a lot of people come up to me after the show and, they've all got a friend that I remind them of. And that's what I was going for. I wanted to walk out on stage and people to be like, okay, I trust this large furry flannel man to guide me through comedy for the next half hour.
It's funny you say that because honestly, I think it's a beard thing. I constantly have people telling me, you remind me so much of my buddy, whoever. And I think it's just literally a general beard face thing. Like
it's amazing how like beards just like people focus on that and that's your face. Like the actors I have been told I look like I don't, but they're bearded,
Are you Zach Galifianakis? Yeah.
I get that all the time. And I'm like, I don't think I look that much like Zach, except for the fact that we both have facial hair.
Yeah.
Yeah. Everywhere. Actually, it's funny because when you started messaging me, we were talking about you had Renee on the show, Renee Dupree.
Yeah.
And I have a good Renee Dupree story, and it's exactly that.
No shit. Okay, let's hear it, man.
I met Renee at a Smash Wrestling show a few years ago. It was actually like a double-header, double bill. So it was 2 shows in one day. It was World Cup of Wrestling Canadian qualifiers.
Yes.
And then Smash.
He wrestled Michael Elgin.
Yeah, I believe. Yeah. So now Renee and I have a mutual friend for a long time, a comedian, Julian Dion. He grew up with Renee, and Julian and I have worked together a bunch of times over the years doing stand-up. And Julian, always knowing about my big wrestling fandom, has always told me Renee stories and gone on and on about his great old friend Renee, who was like, the youngest guy signed to WWE contract. He was very proud of Renee and talking. And I'm like, of course I knew who he was. La Resistance. Yeah, no, I know exactly what you mean. So finally meet him after all these years. And he was at the merch table. So I walked up and I bought like 8x10 of him and Sylvain was signed, and we got to chatting, and I was like, oh, we have a mutual friend, Julian Dion, and we started chatting about that and about how great a guy Julian was. Went back and forth on that. I went back to watching the show. He went back to getting ready for the show. Later on, we took a picture, and I texted it to Julian going, oh, look who I met. And then he messaged me back. And so later on, I saw Renee at the bar. So I wandered up to him with my phone. I was like, oh, I just letting you know, I texted the photo of us to Julian, and he said to say hi. So hi from Julian. And he was like, oh, that's great. We chatted a bit more, and then went on our ways. Now, at the show, there was another stand-up comedian, Casey Corbin, who actually hosts the Talkin' Wrestling podcast. And Casey is another fat bearded guy. And Casey and I became friends because every comic was like, do you know Casey Corbin? You look exactly like him. And Casey, every time he met a comic, they're like, do you know Trevor Wilson? Because you look exactly like him. And we message each other. It's like, so apparently we're the same person, so we should probably be friends. And that's how my friendship with Casey started. So I had run into him earlier in the day. And I guess after both times I had gone to say hi to Renee, he saw Renee and walked up to him and was like, hey, I wanted to introduce myself. I'm a comedian and I'm friends with Julian Dion. And Renee's like, I know, holy, buddy, you've talked to me all day. You took pictures together. You showed the pictures. Like, I get it. You know Julian. And Casey's like, no, okay, no, I know what happened. He goes, see, this is the first time I'm talking to you. You were talking to another comic, Trevor Wilson, earlier, and then Casey showed him a picture of me and him side by side at the event that we'd taken earlier. He goes, yeah, that's the guy you were talking to before. This is me. And Renee was like, oh my God, I'm really sorry. I just yelled at you. I totally thought you were the other fat comic.
That's so Renee too. It doesn't take much to get him to kind of switch on you and be like, yeah, okay, man. Like whatever. Like he can be short tempered. He's great, man. There's so many stories that I want to tell with him. Like I told one on the first episode I did with like one of us pissing on the couch in England and nobody knew who it was for like a year. And then we finally settled it this past year. And it was totally him. He pissed on the couch drunk. But there's so many more I want to tell. But at the same time, it's like, I don't know. Like I got kids. I don't want them to hear all this.
Got to be careful when you start telling tales out of school.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to like put them on Patreon or something. I don't think my kids have a visa yet, so they can't sign up. But with wrestling, what age did you start getting into that?
I'm probably going to say about 6 or 7. I really started paying attention to it.
This is like Hogan.
Yeah. I was full on the Hulkamaniac years. I think my earliest memories of watching it. I remember Rockin' Wrestling, and I think that's what really brought me into it was the cartoon show that was on when I was a kid, Hulk Hogan's Rockin' Wrestling. And then through that, like my earliest memories are really around sort of WrestleMania 4 that I can like clearly, like I've gone back and watched everything since, but like if I'm actually remembering like the first stuff I remember catching on TV, I vividly remember the recap of Bret Hart and Bad News Brown at the end of the Battle Royal at WrestleMania 4 when they Bad News throws him over the top and Bret comes back and destroys the
one sec, Trev. I think something's just going on with the internet there.
WrestleMania 4 recap.
Sorry, you were just breaking up there. But yeah, the WrestleMania 4 recap, that's probably around the age or the time frame. For me, it was later. I remember I got into it like Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels were on top. So it was like mid 90s. I'm a little bit young. I'm 32. I think you're a few years older than me.
Yeah, and I'm 39.
Right. So I remember one time I was telling Stone Rockwell, do you know him, Asylum?
Yeah, I do.
We're traveling back from Boston one time. We're just bored and we're talking the same thing, asking each other the same kind of question. Like, when did you start watching? And that's what I told him. That was my answer. I'm like, yeah, definitely like when Bret and Shawn around Iron Man match, somewhere in there was like when I really started getting into it. And he just looks at me and goes, oh, you must have been real cool at school. It was like the downtime of wrestling. Like it was not popular at that time. What age do you think, like, did you get into stand-up comedy when you were young, or was that something later as an adult that you got into?
I was always a fan of comedy. My dad said that when I was like really little, I would laugh at jokes that there was no way I'd be able to understand. He's like, it didn't matter if I knew what they were talking about. My dad said I just knew when stuff was funny. So like, I think I watched Monty Python when I was 7 years old, and I started acting professionally when I was about 14, and already at that point I was like a big stand-up fan. I'd absorbed all of Eddie Murphy's specials, and we had George Carlin tapes and Robin Williams tapes I'd make the family listen to on long car drives. So I was already I think I was about 7 or 8 when I was watching Uncle Buck. Yeah. And I put it together that was John Candy's job. Yeah. It was like, oh, I knew that he was John Candy playing Uncle Buck, but it was like at that point, my little kid brain is like, that's his office. Like, your dad goes to an office every day. That's his office. He goes and plays pretend. And I'm just like, well, that's got to be the best job in the world. I want to do that. And then I sort of, found Saturday Night Live, stand-up comedy, like all the other avenues, and I just fell in love with all forms of comedy. And it was just that was the dream that I felt I could make happen.
Did you so when you started getting into performing, were you looking more towards stand-up, or were you always looking more at the acting?
I wanted to do all of it. And I think that was the problem is I wanted to do, I mean, when you're a teenager, there's really no, or a preteen, there's no stand-up for you to do. You can, you can try out for the school talent show and you can perform for your buddies in the parking lot in your parents' basement, but you're not getting on a club, but you can get professional work as an actor as a kid. So I was like, okay, that makes sense. I'm going to do that. And I started doing school plays. I started taking acting classes at Young People's Theater. Actually, my buddy Matt and I at one point were the youngest people to ever study improv at the Second City. We were 13, 14 when we started taking improv classes. And we were the youngest in our class by, I guess the next closest person was 19. So we were the youngest by about 6 years.
Yeah,
and on average by about a lot more. And I remember I got hit on by one of the ladies in class. This was a couple years into improv training, so I was 15 at the time. And this lady was definitely flirting with me. And she's like, maybe we could grab a coffee sometime. I was like, oh, I'd probably have to ask my mom. And she's like, how old are you? And I was like, oh, I'm 15. And she's like turned ghost white. And she's like, I'm 30. You're literally half my age. I was like, whoops.
Oh, man. That's oh, sorry. Oh, yeah. The wrestling.
Yep.
That wasn't on your radar?
I always wanted to do it, but I didn't know how. I was not an athlete. I did not have the natural athletic inclinations. And, anytime I talked to my parents about, hey, maybe we could find a wrestling school, they'd be like, that's not a thing that you're doing. Like,
they just shut it down right away. Yeah. Is that not?
That's not possible. I ended up going to school for a bit when I was 30. There's a guy who wanted to put together a wrestling and comedy show, and he wanted the wrestlers to bump. And so he approached me and a bunch of other comics about doing it because we were all fans. And he'd arranged for us to train with Squared Circle.
Okay.
To prepare for the show. So I think the first day, like 10 of the 20 comics that were invited showed. And then the next day, only 3 of us were there. And I was there for, I stuck around for a couple months training at Squared Circle under El Fuego and a bunch of those guys. But it got like, it was right at the time that my stand-up was really starting to take off and keep me busy. So I was out on the road. So I couldn't be there for all the classes in the week. And you miss a week and then you come back and you got to reset. You got to, your body has lost all of the muscle memory from the week before. And it's like, so you got to, train your body to throw yourself at the floor again and absorb the bump again. And I was, there was two things. One, I had a pre-existing condition I wasn't letting on about. I have a deteriorated lattice in my eye, and my eye doctor told me if I get hit in the head hard enough, my retina is going to detach.
Oh,
so
okay.
My eye doctor was like, don't get punched in the face. And
yes.
Whatever you do, don't get punched in the face because your retina will detach, and then we're going to have to do eye surgery. So I was keeping that a secret. And then I kept getting deathly afraid I was going to hurt somebody. Because every time I took time off, I'd come back and the class was somewhere else, Yeah. Every time I took a road gig, I'd come back and I'd be behind in the class. And then, when wrestling, you feel doing, if you don't feel comfortable, don't do it. And no one ever gave me shit for not, having the confidence to do something. No one ever made fun of me for wanting to be safe. But just some of the stuff, like, they got me running jackknife pin drills with a cruiserweight.
Yeah. Training never makes sense. Training is always even because sometimes I'll be in there when I was first starting with like 100-pound girl, and we're doing this big long spot where like she's got to like pick me up for a slam and I slip behind, and like it just doesn't make any sense. But yeah, no, it's incredibly insightful of you to see that like you might hurt somebody if you're not.
Well, I mean, just doing the jackknife pin drills, I roll over onto the guy and I land, but as soon as I lock the bridge, my knees are like, oh, we don't hold this much weight, and I just collapse on the guy, and luckily he rolled out from underneath me because I was about to put a good 300 pounds onto his chest.
Oh yeah, I've done the same thing with that same exact jackknife. I've done it where I just slipped and I literally just landed ass first on somebody's face and just squished it complete, like the worst thing you could hope for, right? Yeah. Just a butthole in the nose.
They told me my best roll up was the magistral cradle. They were like, "That's yours."
That's surprising, yeah. So
that was the one I practiced in the basement, though. That was the El Dandy finisher. So
you
then I took I fucking drilled my head into the mat on an arm drag and rang my bell pretty good, and I started getting nervous about losing my eye. So what eventually what happened was the guy promoting the comedy wrestling show vanished, and the whole show got scrapped. And Fuego was nice enough to let us keep coming to class while we figured out what was going on. But with the immediate show gone and not wanting to lose an eye, I decided to bow out. But it was some of the most fun I ever had. The guys from that class, like the advanced students that were in that class were guys like Tariq and John Greed. And Sebastian Suave was one of the coaches that I had. A bunch of the Cobra Kai guys from I knew them all from Super Kicked and fight shows.
Yeah.
But and then like Von Vertigo and those guys would come in through the class. But they were all like really great guys, and it's fun because I get to go out in the indies and still see these guys work and work before the pandemic.
Yeah.
And do some really solid work together. But they were all like just really nice dudes. And it was fun, like it was something I wish I had tried earlier. Because it was like a couple years later, I was diagnosed with diabetes. Like I was literally doing it at my worst physical health. I remember I'd get home from school and I'd sit down on the couch and just slowly all of my muscles would seize up. So I'm just like lying there atrophied, and then my cat would come up and start bullying me.
Yeah.
And it's like I didn't even have the strength to lift my arm to shoo the cat away. I'd never been so sore, but I had never been so happy being that sore either. It was good times.
Have you ever had anybody approach you about getting involved? Like, for instance, I know you went to an Impact taping and you did some podcasts there. I seen your post today, one you did with Alicia Tout and Santino Marella. Did Scott D'Amore, anybody there ever try to pitch you anything? about getting involved with Impact?
You know, they haven't asked me to do anything on the show, not in a while. Like, they asked me to come by and do some of their digital stuff. Nick asked me a couple of times to do the Stone Rockwell, one of those like videos that he does for the online for Twitch and stuff. And
Yeah.
I got asked to do Ethan Page's recap.
Yeah.
Podcast a couple times, and it was just like scheduling conflicts. You know, the one thing about being a stand-up that's very similar to wrestling is you make most of your money not at home. So I'd be like, you know, I'd love to do it, but I'm going to be in Arizona and Florida.
Yeah, I thought it was just like kind of a given that they would want you on there. Just the fact that you're a big guy, you have a celebrity status, you know, everyone knows your face. It would just
a lot of the indies guys like have asked me at one point. Kingdom James there asked me to.
I'm talking to him literally right after you.
Oh, right on. I'll tell him I said hi. He's great. He invited me he actually invited me to get in the ring. He wanted he wanted me to take part in a battle royal at a wrestling union show.
Yeah.
But it was it was too close to the Letterkenny taping. We were under contract, so I think it was either I couldn't get cleared to do something that physical right before I had to work, or we were going up to do pre-production on another season. Either way, I was, pardon me, not able to take part. But I really appreciated the offer, and I would have loved to. He said, you know, we'll protect you, and we've got a spot figured out. And I really would have loved to do it, but it's just, you know, one of those things that didn't work out. And actually, Ethan asked me to come up to Barrie to do that. I think A1.
Yeah.
And they wanted me to manage a Letterkenny themed wrestler. So it actually might be.
Speaking of A1, speaking of Letterkenny themed wrestlers, we're joined right now by BMD Brett Michael David. Can you hear us, Brett? Oh, geez. Maybe he's not here. I'm the worst for this.
Would have been the perfect segue.
Oh, my goodness. How good would that have been? How come he can't hear us?
Hold on, can you hear me now, bud?
Oh yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, good. I just had to change a setting here. I was having a hard time.
Yeah, no problem. I thought it was me. I'm like, what the hell? I'm new to Zoom, so I don't.
Dude,
I don't know.
We had the same issue Christmas Eve. We were trying to Zoom with my wife's family, and for like 45 minutes, we were sitting here, couldn't hear a word.
Yeah, I just figured out Zoom is so much easier to even do like our video for like the Blackball podcast with Pretty Ricky and MC Hardbody, because I can literally just hook my board up to it and just go. But anyways, BMD, he's here. We have Trevor Wilson. You two can finally meet.
What's up, bud?
How's it going? Cheers, nice to meet you.
Cheers. Nice to meet you too, pal.
So before I get into you, I'm gonna admit something. Before we started recording, I asked Trevor to help me rib you. So the whole idea was I was gonna have him basically pretend to be super pissed that you do the Letterkenny gimmick or the trailer, you know, like it's not exactly Letterkenny, but it's similar. And then have him just like sign out quick and then have you just not tell you anything.
But you know what? I'm so glad you didn't do that. I would have been so upset and concerned.
Yeah. Oh man. So
That's hilarious.
we're talking to Trevor about like him. He actually did some training at Squared Circle. Where did you get started?
So I got started originally at Battle Arts Academy with Santino Marella. I was there for
didn't know that at all.
Yeah, dude. Oh, I was there for like 3 months. I got a whole different story about that, but that's for another time. And then I went to HPW with Rip Impact.
Okay, yeah, Ripper, yeah, right on the highway there.
Yeah, and I feel honestly, I was there for like a year and a bit, and I feel like I've been fortunate enough to make friends with some cool people, and they've taken me under their wing and taken me on the road, and I've learned a lot. I would say even more so traveling and wrestling and showing up at shows.
Oh, for sure. That's where all the learning's done. Like you learn how to protect yourself and you get your wind right at training. But as far as learning how to actually work, I'm sure it's the same with comedy. You got to be in front of a crowd, right? Like you have to figure out the beats and figure out what to do when, right?
I mean, any sort of performance, you got to know you got to learn how to feel the crowd, and you can't do that till you're in front of them. And then you figure out what they like, and you figure out how you can lead them where you want to lead them.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's the same with comedy, but I forget who I was talking to about this. It was about advice. And I've taken too much advice at times where like every single person who I respect gives me a different piece of advice and I just do it all. I don't file it. I just, I literally like I remember dyeing my hair completely blonde because Robbie McAllister said to do so. And then the next week I do like a totally different gimmick because Diener told me to do this. And I'm like, okay. So every week, like I look completely different. Now I'm completely like bald because I bleached my hair. And it's just, but I find with performing, it's the same thing. You don't even realize the advice until it happens. Like you think you understand it. And really, it doesn't really set in until you're in the ring or until you're on stage and that moment happens. And that's exactly what it clicks. It's like, oh shit. Okay. This is what he was talking about 3 years ago when I got that advice.
Yeah. Everyone's going to give you advice. And then like the thing you got to figure out is where they're coming from when they gave you that advice. Are they sincerely trying to help you? And do they have the knowledge to help you? Are they trying to hurt you because they're intimidated by what they see? And also, like, are they sincerely trying to help you but don't have the knowledge to help you and are not necessarily? You know, I in comedy, it's the same thing. You know, like when you're coming up, you got the headliners and they'll tell you 1,000 ways on how to do it. And, you know, some of it is like good advice. Some of it's terrible advice because it might have worked for them, but it's not necessarily going to work for you. And it's also the same thing with the stuff that people tell you not to do, almost as much as what they tell you. Because just about everything I've done in my career, someone at some point has told me that's impossible and that doesn't happen and you can't do that. And it's like, no, they just couldn't figure out how to do it. Doesn't mean you can't. So yeah. You got to weigh all the advice as you get it. And then eventually you combine it. It's like I took up a whole bunch of different acting classes and they all had different theories, and you just start cherry picking what works for me, what doesn't work for me, what speaks to me and what doesn't speak to me.
Yeah, that was like the hardest thing for, you know, even the whole, like you said, the whole Letterkenny thing, like the Letterkenny gimmick stuff that came about. It was a matter of listening to all the advice I was getting at once and then picking which stuff like I thought like was relevant to me the most. And like, you know, you hear it from every documentary you watch about wrestling and stuff, like your gimmick or whatever is just the best gimmicks are just you turned up to 10 or 11 or whatever, right? And for me, it was a realization of like, I did a show in Massachusetts, and me being this super Canadian guy, you know, to get over in the States, it's been a challenge at times. And I was riding home with MJF, and he told me before I was doing the Letterkenny stuff, he told me that when I came out, they need to know who I am right away. They need to know exactly who I'm about. I should be able to tell them it without me even saying anything. And I had these beer patches on me. Oh, I like beer, Molson Canadian, all this stuff. And it, you know, people like they understood who I was, but they didn't really understand. So until I started doing, okay, I love the show and I love it because I feel like I can relate to it so much, just stuff coming up like in my life. And, so I just took that and I was like, oh, I wear flannel all the time. I wear jeans all the time. I'm going to, you know, incorporate this into my wrestling somehow and try and turn it up to, so it's just me turned up to 10. I drink a lot more beer. I'm a lot more out there. And then I decided, oh, you know, what can I do to separate me from that? So I started ripping my sleeves off. And that was, yeah, right. You know, I thought, oh, Hogan rips his shirt off. I see all these guys ripping their Zubas off and all the stuff. Like, what if I rip my sleeves off? That's so weird. I've never seen anyone do it, and it's been working.
Being self-explanatory, I think, is like for an independent wrestler is the most important thing. And I think a lot of guys don't realize. I think they think that it's like Monday Night Raw, and everyone knows what their gimmick is, and they can be super like particular about every little thing, when really it's like you have to treat it like it's the first time they're seeing you every night. I remember learning that, like doing all the northern tours or the holiday camps in England, every single crowd is like kids and families, and it could be a new crowd every night. So every single night you have to come out assuming they don't know who you are and come up with a gimmick that is literally the most self-explanatory. It might, in your case, it's not super simple. Like in mine, I went like You can tell I'm an idiot because all I did was like, well, I kick people for my finish, so I'm just going to call myself the Boot. And I come out and I chant Boot, and that's the entire gimmick, right? And I put it in the theme music so they hear Boot as soon as they come out, and literally the entire match, I actually ripped off Diener too. He works the DDT. I just decided, okay, I'm just going to do Boot, and I just copied his gimmick. And
it's smart though. It works, dude.
You know
get
what?
Them hyped up for it.
The minute I made it self-explanatory, all of a sudden I'm selling like double, triple the merch that I would at a nightly show because everyone else is just a wrestler. The only thing they remember is the guy who repeated himself 17 times and said the same thing over and over.
Repetition.
That's it. Yeah. And it was the same thing. Like with me, I started, and I learned a lot from you, Rex, with this stuff. When I started doing it, I was just incorporating beer into my match. I'm like, oh, I love beer. I'm going to be the beer guy. So now I figure out different spots or different ways I can incorporate it without spilling it in the ring, which I mean, you've seen me do a couple times.
Yeah.
And now I've got fans that'll come up. Well, not now, but I would have fans that come up and they buy me beer or they, like, it's just super cool. So I just like, found a way to get people to connect to me as easy as possible.
Someone told me you were getting free beer.
Well, yeah, it happened once.
Okay.
I do those daily videos, right? So I would tag Molson and everything because that's my beer. And yeah, they sent me a bunch of stuff.
That's sweet.
Dude, that was the dream, man. It was so cool.
Yeah, Eric Kearney was fully believing in his head that you're sponsored by Molson and you get free beer every week. He's like, yeah, he gets a case of beer every week. He's sponsored by Molson. I'm like, that's sweet.
That's what I want people to think, right? No, they just that's what they sent it to me one time, dude. I've been trying. I've been trying because that would be so cool.
Yeah, there's a wrestler in the States, I think, sponsored by PBR, which is something I wanted to do a few years ago when I was doing like the redneck gimmick.
Yeah, Eric Cannon. Yeah,
Eric Cannon, that's his name. Yeah,
that dude's the best, and he's legit sponsored. He has like we did a show in Chicago, and he's got like a card that he just takes to the PBR stand. We were at like some beer festival thing, and they just give him free beer, and that's the dream right there.
Yeah, that would be. There's not a lot of sponsorship in comedy, is there? Like companies that are just straight up sponsoring stand-ups?
No, but it happens. I did a tour years ago called the Sex, Drugs, and Comedy Tour with a bunch of other guys. And my buddy Ryan Denis, who oddly enough actually trained at the Hart School of Wrestling years
now,
ago.
Was it the Hart School in Calgary or was it the fake Hart School in Cambridge?
Cambridge.
Oh, Cambridge. Okay. Yeah. I saw. Yeah.
They took off a week before they got busted. Him and his buddy who were there, they were like, this doesn't smell right. Let's clear out, and they made the right move. But Denis put together this Sex, Drugs, and Comedy Tour. He was just starting out, so he did the smart thing. He grabbed three guys who'd been in the business a few years more than him. So myself, Dave Merhej, and Brian O'Gorman, and he's like, I'm going to put together the tour. I'm going to book the shows. And he got us sponsored by Amsterdam Brewery, sponsored us. And then he also got THC and the Stag Shop to sponsor us. So whenever we went out on the road, we'd pick up 4 cases of beer. THC would give us a bong and papers to give away. And Stag Shop would give us just a box of lube and condoms.
I was going to say,
toys.
A big box of dildos.
We actually, at one point, we hit the road with so much giveaway merch that we were traveling with our suitcases on our laps because the trunk was full. And we were like, if we get pulled over, we are 5 comics in a car and the trunk is just beer and pot and lube. We're either going to jail forever or they are going to drive us out of town like Rambo and never let us back again. Like, stay the hell out of Puce, Ontario.
That's awesome.
This is joining us right now, my cousin, actually, Michael Atkins. Sorry, Mike, what's your job title?
Fire prevention officer.
Fire prevention officer. And he, this week, was featured on Good Morning America and a bunch of other shows. He had a viral video what was the video again? I seen part of it. I didn't watch the whole thing yet.
You didn't watch the whole thing?
You post this stuff every week and they're all funny, but I get it.
if you can't count on your family, who can you count on? Wow. But he didn't watch the video. He just heard, "Good Morning America." I got to get him on my podcast.
Ride the wave, bud. Ride the wave.
Unbelievable. Yeah. No, my official title is but on Good Morning America, NFL Hall of Famer Michael Strahan referred to me as dance prodigy extraordinaire. So that's what I'm hoping for my new business cards.
High praise.
High praise indeed, sir.
So the video was you made a dance video. I don't know if you guys seen it, but it was a dance video with you doing different dances to different songs in front of the fire trucks and everything. What was the point of the video again? Because I know
the whole premise of the video was that smoke alarms expire, and their lifespan is generally about 10 years. So I decided to shake my groove thing to songs that were from 2011, and and post it on the internet for what I was hoping to be 500 to 1,500 people. Yeah, we've got about 200,000 views on Facebook and Twitter, but I mean, Good Morning America has 5 million viewers. So
yeah,
nice.
Yeah. I remember a few years ago, BMD, you might remember this as well. My brother-in-law, Ryan Swift, I was filming one of his matches and he climbed up to the top rope, and he had been having an issue where he was getting like sick in matches. He puked. So he got right on the top rope, ready to jump onto the blade from AEW. He was going by Pepper Parks back then. And just before he jumped, he barfed all over the floor, wipes the spit away, and then jumps. So I had this video, and it got probably, I don't know, maybe 50,000, 100,000 views or something on YouTube. But then at the same time, it was on like Ridiculousness, TSN, ESPN, all these things. And I'm thinking like, that's way more views than you're letting on. Like, and the same thing, because I sold stupidly half the rights to like one of those media companies. So they like wrote me a check like 6 months later for like $500. And I'm sure that video was it was used on so many television shows. So I don't really know how many views it got or how much money it made or, how big it could really be. So I'm sure your video is probably has a way bigger audience than it would have.
I'm just shocked. I mean, first it was on CBC, and then CHCH kind of picked it up, and then I know CTV Calgary. There was a television station in Chicago that was showing it. Like, and then all of a sudden, I got a text from my my cousin in Pennsylvania saying, "Holy crap, you're on Good Morning America."
That's insane.
Yeah, exactly, right? And I don't know if you've seen the video. I wouldn't say that I'm a great dancer, but I wouldn't say that I'm a good dancer either. Like, it was just insane, the number of people that just tuned in to watch me dance badly.
Okay, I got
the Will Smith rules to dancing. As long as you keep your face serious and it looks like that's what you're supposed to do, people will believe it's a dance move.
And that's exactly what I did. People are like, "Why are you so serious?" I'm like, "Because I am in the zone, baby." I know what I do.
Before we do plugs and get out of here, I got some fan questions, and I stupidly didn't post who they were for. So I'm assuming I can kind of tell who they're for, like which ones, but we're all going to answer them. I just want to go around the table. Great in 1993. He says, if you could have one match, and I'm sure this is for Trevor, because he's the only, well, Mike, I don't think he knew you were going to be on, but sorry. If you could have one match, who would it be against, and what would the stipulation be?
Oh, jeez. I should probably take on Derry to find out who is the second toughest guy in Letterkenny.
BMD, any dream matches out there that you want to get done?
Oh, man. As it stands right now, like my dream match all the time was I always wanted to wrestle RVD because like I grew up loving that guy. For like active guys right now, man, that's tough. I would say probably Cody Rhodes, to be honest with you. He power slammed me once in a battle royal, and I haven't gotten it back. So that's a guy for sure.
Yeah.
Or I would like to make happen. Actually, it was supposed to happen in Alpha 1, and I forget some stuff kind of came up. It was pretty last minute, but I did that lumberjack match with Justin Sane, and I was in the main event. And Squirrely Dan was going to apparently maybe come out with me. There was some contact there with Ethan Page. Yeah.
Well, Ethan reached out to me, and we talked about it. But the big problem there is I don't own the character of Squirrely Dan.
Yeah, that's right. I heard
And
that.
so I said, I can come out and I can be me, but if you want Dan there, you got to get permission from New Metric Media and Bell, because I don't actually own that character, and I'm not allowed to appear as Dan unless it is authorized through New Metric Media. So I was unable to. I think there was I think also we were filming, but
yeah. He told me that it was something with the company. Yeah,
they're very wary about letting me take part in wrestling events when I'm about to go to work.
Yeah, I can understand that.
Mike, if you were a wrestler,
very happy.
If you're a wrestler, Mike, who would you want to wrestle? What's her name?
Yeah, I'm thinking tag team match, me and Rex Atkins versus the Killer Bees or Demolition. I think that we could do some damage against Killer Bees. Let's go Killer Bees versus the Atkinses.
All right, Sierra Moss script. That's my girlfriend. She wrote into the questions, which is actually is kind of a question I was going to ask you before, Trev, which is who makes you laugh? That's what she said. I want what comedians. Who does it for you?
I mean, I'm a big fan of comedy, so lots of guys make me chuckle. My favorite's Brian Regan.
Amazing.
Brian's like a guy who's, and it's pretty much all he does is stand up too. He's got like maybe one or two movie roles under his belt, but the rest of it is all stand up. And I don't know, he's just one of the funny, and he's got a great tour bus. I've had the privilege of being on it before. The bathroom on his tour bus is nicer than the bathroom in my house. Guys like Ron Funches. Funches is a good buddy of mine. He's hilarious. My buddy Arthur Simeon makes me laugh a lot. Funniest guy I know is my buddy Cam Wiley, and he's more of a sketch guy than a stand-up guy. But Cameron Wiley's the funniest dude, in my opinion. He's made me laugh since we were in 7th grade, so he's pretty damn funny.
Yeah, I've always gravitated towards more like definitely for stand-ups, New York comedy, big time. Like anybody who was the old Opie and Anthony days, that's what I grew up on. So like Jim Norton, Bobby Kelly, all those guys, Rich Voss. Definitely a big fan of New York comedy.
I've met Rich and Bobby. They're both really good guys. Rich
BMD?
is actually married. Rich is married to a good Canadian girl, Bonnie McFarlane.
That's right. Did you watch the roast of Rich Voss?
I didn't. I should check that out.
Oh my! There is this one in there when it was Jim Florentine, and I think the joke's something like she achieved her dream of moving to America and becoming, I'm fucking it up now. I can't remember it. Oh yeah, that's what it was. She went to America, became famous, and got I can't fucking do it. It's something about it ends with stupid rich, and if you know her husband's Rich Voss. But point is, BMD, who makes you laugh? Clearly not me.
Yeah, no, you actually do make me laugh. I still daily think about the your version of BMD, which was bitches, money, donuts, that you thought I should go with, and I think that's funny. So yes, you do. Well, I feel bad if we didn't at least acknowledge K. Trevor Wilson here. I mean, and he's my dad's favorite stand-up as well. He would be upset if I didn't mention that. I dabbled a little bit in stand-up a few years ago. So there's some local guys around here. Manolis Sontanos, really funny guy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he's really funny. He gave me some good advice one time after an amateur show. And Pat Coppolino is another one. He runs.
Pat.
Yeah.
Good cat. Yep.
Great guy. Yeah. He runs the Levity Comedy Club in Hamilton. Those are some good guys. And then as far as like,
is Pat the red-haired guy?
Yeah, he dressed as Louis C.K. for Halloween.
Yes. Okay. I seen that. Yeah. Okay.
And as far as like bigger,
it was eerie. It was eerie how much you look like Louis.
Yeah.
It was scary costume. 100%. Yeah. Those guys. And then I would say for big time, like Bill Burr is one too. Kills me.
Yep.
Mike, who did you grow up on?
We have the same lawyer.
What comedians did I grow up on?
Yeah.
Oh man, that was those were like the Andrew Dice Clay days, man. Those way back. You know, Richard Pryor. I'm older than I look.
No, I think you look
right
just
now.
about
Hurtful. No, my family right now are huge fans of Michael McIntyre, and I don't know. I just like to laugh. Anybody that's gonna make me smile, I'll turn them on. What?
I'm going to take one more question here. It's from another guy, BMD. You know him, Clayton Wilson.
Oh yeah, my bud.
Okay, so everyone can answer this. What's the most amount of beers you've drank in one sitting?
Who are you starting with?
I'll start with me. We used to go to these shows in Wheatfield, New York, myself and Lumberjack, and I know that we would grab a 30-pack of Bud Light, and we'd start on those, finish that, and then we'd go to the bar after and probably have another, I don't know. I'm guessing at least a dozen, right, over the night before they close at 4. So I'm going to assume that that was probably the most I've ever drank in my life was those nights. But you know what's odd about it? I remember the entire night. And I never really, they always say American beer is not as strong. And it says the same percentage, but I'm sure after 15 beers plus, let's say, so we're looking just shy of 30 beers probably. And I still remember everything, nothing. Whereas if I did that here, if I went to a bar here and had, 30 beers, I'd be, you wouldn't hear from me for a week.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I would say somewhere just shy of 30.
Oh my God.
I almost did a 2-4 once. That was 100 years ago. At a backyard party, I sat down on a chair, put a case next to me, and I don't think I got up a couple times to pee in a bush, and that was about it. And I gave away a couple of them, but that case did not survive the evening. But I will preface it by saying I was on a hefty fistful of mushrooms too, so that counteracted. That delayed some of the reaction from the
beer.
I'm a Molson guy, so that's like 5% you're looking at there. Or what is it? 5? I don't know. 5.
Oh, you're making excuses already.
5%. No. So I would say, honestly, maybe 15 or 16. Nothing crazy. Well, I guess it's kind of crazy to some people, but yeah, maybe 15 or 16 when I get going. Sometimes on these Twitch streams, man, I get going. I don't know.
Mike, you're not a big drinker, are you?
Yeah, no, I'm just trying to think. Most in one sitting. Carry the 4. Probably 1. Yeah, I hate beer with a passion.
Yeah.
Yeah, gross. No, thank you.
Well, there you have it. Thank you, everyone, for being on here. Let's, Kate, Trevor, where can everybody find you?
I'm the only K. Trevor Wilson on the internet, so it's easy to track me down. KTrevorWilson.com, at K. Trevor Wilson on Twitter and Instagram, comedyrecords.ca. Yeah. And you can go on Crave, check out the new season of Letterkenny.
Of course.
And yeah, I also got my comedy special on there. Oh, yeah. And I got my merch store at Below the Collar.
Before you move on there, I'm super pissed. I ordered the Man Mountain t-shirt, the cartoon
one.
Oh,
nice.
I didn't get it in the mail yet. It's still sitting in Chicago, Illinois. I'm waiting for it. It hasn't come in yet. And also about Letterkenny, the opening scene of season 9 is probably the best opening of any show I've ever watched. Like,
the rap, yeah.
That was so much fun to shoot. That was 2 days in a Tutti Frutti restaurant, right on like the first drive into Sudbury. You look to your right, you'll see the Tutti Fruttis we shot at over 2 days. That was a ridiculous 2 days. Actually, fun fact: one of the soldiers in that scene is cousins with Bret Hart's first wife.
Oh, okay.
No kidding.
Yeah. We all got to chatting about wrestling, and he was like, he was telling us stories about hanging out with the Harts all the way back in the day. So, small world wrestling.
All right, Brett, where can everybody find you, buddy?
I'm at BMD Bud on everything, Twitter, Instagram. Definitely check out my YouTube. I've been doing a lot of comedy sketches on there recently. I just had one kind of take off really big. I made fun of, I did a fake news report on the people that owe money to CERB, and I acted as one of the guys, and the comments on the video are hilarious. I don't know how people don't realize it's a parody, but some people
it looks
absolutely
legit
hate me.
though. It looks completely legit. When I seen it at first, I'm like, I took me a second to realize it was you because I thought it was like a real article or a news story. But yeah, that looks great, man.
I did my best, and it's my voice as the reporter too, and it's me on the front lawn, obviously. I mean, I'm getting a lot of hate for it, but I absolutely love it. It's going to hit like 50K views now, which is insane for me. So definitely check me out on YouTube. I got a few other ones up there and some one that we're working on right now. That'd be great.
Beautiful. Mike, where can everybody find you, buddy?
For the rest of the weekend, I'll be hanging out on the couch. After that, unconfirmed dates on the hot tub and the patio swing. But yeah, fortunately, my merch isn't up yet. So I don't have a website to refer to yet, but maybe next time.
All right. Thanks, guys. I appreciate you all being on. You guys have a good night. All right.
Thanks, bud.
You too. Thanks so much.
Thanks.
Nice meeting you all.
Nice to meet you guys.
Available on iTunes, Spotify, or anywhere you get podcasts. Video versions are available on YouTube.